Welcome, everybody, to The World is a Mess, and I Just Want to Steampunk It. This is episode 62, May 16th, 2022. I'm your host, Steampunk Star Raisin. I'm here in North Hollywood, California, and I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Burdison, and he is in Bellwood, Ontario, Canada. So how's it going, Daniel?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, so I just watched Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That's a really good movie. And you know what? I heard it suffered a huge drop on this week. This is the second week. It suffered a huge drop.
Yeah, according to Box Office Mojo, because I looked it up, it dropped 59% the second week. I mean, it's not uncommon for movies to drop significantly in the second week, because the majority of people who are going to see it usually see it in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends whether there's repeat showings, but it's already grossed 688 million, but it's not going to do as well as Spider-Man No Way Home, because that did like 1.8 billion dollars. That was tremendously successful. I know that the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has been a little bit controversial. I know, like, Beyond the trailer didn't like it because she thought it destroyed the character of Wanda. But, they were already, in WandaVision, they were already kind of setting up that she was going to search for her kids, and they were already kind of setting up that she looked kind of evil towards the end. When she took over the Darkhold and she was reading the Darkhold book, she looked very evil, and she kind of split herself into two personalities, and they kind of continued that on in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. The only gripe I would have with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness would be, I thought the way they did the third eye was a little bit cheesy. That was very Sam Raimi, very Evil Dead kind of way of doing it. And then I thought Professor X got killed off way too easily, because Professor X in the comic books is more than a match for any hero or villain, because he has such powerful telepathy. He would have been able to hold Wanda at bay for much longer than what he did. So those are the only real two flaws. That's why I would give it an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. But we reviewed it in the previous, but I guess in the previous podcast episode that we had done, you hadn't seen it yet.
No, I saw it. I saw it on Netflix. No, it's Bflix. Really good. It's a really good
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, we'll see. I know that they're going to be releasing the Top Gun movie in a couple of weeks, and a lot of people say that that's going to take the movie down even more. We'll see if it at least makes $1 billion, but at 688 million, even if it were to stop playing in theaters today, I would still say that was successful, because I don't know what the production budget. Budget for Doctor Strange. Okay, Google already predicts what I'm gonna search for. It was a $200 million budget according to Google. So at 688 million, it's already considered a success because it made its money back, and they probably spent another 200 million promoting the movie with advertisements and posters. Even with that, it still made money. It still made profits. So, and it's not done showing yet. So we'll see as it goes on if it'll make it up to the $1 billion club. Because usually Marvel movies are not considered successful unless they make $1 billion. Go ahead.
Exactly. I was hoping that it would surpass Spider-Man No Way Home, because this movie had a bunch of universes in it, right? And it had Professor X in it and a bunch of other characters in it. So I thought it was going to definitely surpass.
Professor X was way too brief. I mean, when I was in the theater, it was people got excited when they heard Patrick Stewart and they saw Patrick Stewart as Professor X. They got excited. and you know, they cheered him on because he's a very popular actor as Professor X, and so yeah, I went the first opening weekend. I'm checking my Instagram here. I went on May the 7th, and it had premiered May the 6th. So I went and saw it the second day after it premiered in theaters, and the theater was packed. I had pre-booked tickets, and people were very excited. Yeah, it was a very visually entertaining movie. It kind of reminded me of something out of like Salvador Dali. Very surrealistic, especially, you know, with all the different multiverses in the Paint universe. But we already did a review of this, so I guess we're just talking about the box office. So I guess moving on.
Yeah, those things you're eating right now is very good, by the way. I love those things. I like to get them at Walmart and eat them. They're so good.
Oh,
Little
frosted
cakes.
fudge cakes. Yeah, they
Yeah.
go good with coffee.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I mean, it's already a success at 688 million, because even if you subtract promotional costs, which are probably another 200 million for the movie, it's still made a net profit of 288 million. We'll see how well it does against Top Gun Mavericks. I don't really care for looking forward to that movie.
Well, it's been a long
It's just a
time.
Top Gun vehicle, and I think the whole premise of him still being a captain in the Navy and still being a fighter pilot and refusing to take promotion is very unrealistic, because the way it works in the military is if you get, like, especially if you're an officer, if you get passed up for promotion twice, then they'll either force you to resign, or they'll force you to retire. You know, they force people out who just sit around too long and don't get promoted. So to me, it's very unrealistic that, you know, he'd been in the Navy for, I don't know, 30 something years, and he's still only a captain, and he's still allowed to only be in the Navy. That to me just seems like a very unrealistic premise, and it seems like just another Top Gun Tom Cruise vehicle. And then I don't really have that interest in that movie. But anyway, we can move on to Strange New Worlds episode 2.
Yeah, but before we do, I want to say, like, you know what? I'm so sorry that I don't understand why Doctor Strange dropped. It's never going to reach 2 billion now. I was hoping it would.
Oh no, it's not going to reach 2 billion. It's going to struggle to even make 1 billion. But
that's bad. That's bad news for the MCU and bad news for us, because, you know, that means we're not going to get good. You know, we could have gotten better quality stuff in the future.
well, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's already made money, so I don't know what else to say. We beat a dead horse in the ground. I've already reviewed the movie, so I want to move on to a new topic. Let's start fresh. Strange New Worlds episode 2. What did you think of it?
I thought it was it felt like a filler episode. Very kind of, it wasn't as powerful as the first one. The first episode was good. I liked it. It started off with Captain Pike on the planet, and he's watching the day the Earth stood still, and that's a really good movie. The 1950s version is really good, and
I never saw it.
Yeah, way better than the remake. The remake was so bad that I heard they shot it into space. It was that bad.
Shot it in space. Oh, you're being funny. I'm trying to
No,
make a joke.
that's what they're saying. They shot it into space. Like, I don't know if they got all the copies and shot it into space. I'm not sure, but that's what they're saying.
I don't
So,
know. The one with Keanu Reeves.
yeah.
Yeah, they
But
didn't do very well.
nah. So he was so yeah, Captain Pike was watching the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, and see, I like that because you know what? That shows that shows that in the Star Trek universe, that movie exists. And I like it when they add
Well,
stuff like that.
the big problem I had with the episode, and I don't know what it is with the hairstyles, it really bothered me because it stood out. Like, you know, the original Captain Pike, who, of course, only appeared in one episode, although he also appeared in the Madre Part 1 and 2, but as a disabled person portrayed by a different actor in a wheelchair. Captain Pike, he had like a bit of like Captain Elvis going on. Like, what the hell was going on with his hair? His hair was like, whoop. It was all glued together with hairspray, and it really looked over the top. It almost looked like he actually has long hair, like he did in the first episode, and he's like, crap, I need to look like I have short hair. So let me brush my hair up and do a glue it all together in a bubble. I don't know. It just seemed like the hair, he was definitely contained by hairspray. Definitely over the top hairstyle. It reminded me of like greasers from the 1950s with the way they used to grease and slick their hair over and bob it up. So Captain Pike's hair bob was a little bit of a distraction in the episode. And then I'll just use the colloquial expression. I don't like to use profanity too much, but yeah, like what was with Spock's sideburns, man? He had like the whole fuckboy look going on. He's like, bro, I am Spock, fuckboy. And the sideburns were very distracting. So whoever's doing hair and makeup, you suck in that episode. It was very distracting. It didn't seem very much like Spock. Also, they're retconning the fact that Spock got with his girlfriend in the original series. He had never met her before. It was a prearranged marriage. So they're retconning a lot of things. I mean, I get it. They're trying to make Spock more interesting and less nerdy. And I don't really know if I like that, trying to make Spock more interesting and less nerdy. So I don't know. Actually, that was in episode 1, but either way, Spock with his sideburns really bothered me. Captain Pike's hair bothered me. The story was kind of bland. It was kind of a filler episode. It was okay. It was kind of neat that they beamed down to a comet instead of beaming down to a planet, but still, I don't know. And, technically they violated the Prime Directive because Prime Directive, with the Prime Directive, you don't interfere with a pre-warp society, even if a comet is going to destroy the planet. But I don't know. It just seemed like a bunch of contrived plot devices. And you can tell that Alex Kurtzman really has no idea what he's doing when it comes to Star Trek. He's trying to please the fans. He's trying to return to the original TOS theme of episodic episodes. But, some of the special effects just looks really, really done on a limited budget. And I don't know. Yeah, there was nothing that really stood out about that episode other than they violated the Prime Directive. Spock's hair or Spock's sideburns looked like a fuckboy, and Captain Pike's hair looked like a bob from a greaser in the 50s, or he looked like Elvis, like he had an Elvis hairstyle. Like, hey, I'm Captain Elvis. I'm captain of the USS Enterprise. Would you like to rock and roll? Anyway, Uh, yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give the episode like a 5. It was very mediocre. Hopefully, yeah, it'll get better. I don't know how many episodes are going to be in season 1 of Strange New Worlds. Let's see, number of episodes, Strange New Worlds. I think I'm looking at Stranger Things, Strange New Worlds season 1. And you already have another show that's very similar. So release date. Yeah, when I Google it, it says there's only 2 episodes. Yeah, that's all that's been released. But I just want to get into meat and potatoes. How many episodes do they plan on releasing? Do you know anything about that, Daniel? Hello?
What?
How many episodes are they planning to release
Oh,
of season 1 of Strange New Worlds?
I'm not sure. I didn't check it out. I'm hoping it's like 8 episodes.
See. Maybe I'm asking Google the wrong way. Release date. Okay, according to Wikipedia, they plan to have 10 episodes. So that's not a lot for being done on a shoestring budget. I mean, I'm not very optimistic. The first couple of episodes were kind of mediocre, kind of bland. Nothing that really stood out. You were telling me off camera that you thought that Picard was better. So explain your reasoning on that.
Yeah, definitely. Picard is way better, mostly because it's set in the future, like in the 25th century.
Well, actually, the season 2 is set in the 21st century.
Yeah, I know that. It's set in the 21st century, but then in the very, very end, they go back to the 25th century and they move forward, and it's just really good. I liked it. And just to tell you the truth, man, I'm sick and tired of the 23rd century. I mean, how long has the world stayed in that century for? Oh my God, it's in the 60s, like 1966, all the way to now.
I mean, it's Captain Pike is Elvis. He plays one musical instrument. He plays the mashed potatoes, and then the mashed potatoes start looking like his hairdo.
Like, oh, it's just so like we've been in the 23rd century so long. It's been done. It's been done. It's over. It's been done. But no, let's squeeze out a little bit more of the 23rd century. We want to move forward. We want to go into the 25th century or beyond.
I mean, there were elements that I liked about Strange New Worlds, and there were elements that I liked of Picard, but overall, both shows have been disappointing. But let's hope that Picard season 3 gets better. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about Strange New Worlds. I agree with you. It felt like a filler episode. It was very mediocre.
Did you think to Pring?
I'm sorry?
Spock's engagement girl, he got engaged to Pring. Did you think she was hot?
Yeah, but they're retconning Spock because he, in the original series, never got with her because it was a prearranged marriage. He didn't meet with her until that episode where Kirk had to fight Spock. But yeah, I mean, she was hot, but yeah, we've got about 10 minutes left. Anything else you want to talk about on Strange New Worlds episode 2 before we move on to the next topic?
Well, first of all, I like to say in episode 1, I like it how they added the history of our world, like what happened on like Black Lives Matter when they showed what led up to World War III, Black Lives Matter, and
I didn't
January
see
3rd.
really Black Lives Matter leading into World War II.
And also like they added like January 3rd, 2021. Yeah, remember what happened in January 3rd, 2021 in Washington, D.C.?
That was January 6th.
Oh, January 6th? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they tried to break into the Capitol building, or did they break into the Capitol
They
building?
did
I'm not
break
sure.
in. The vice president and most of the congressmen and the senators were evacuated barely in the nick of time. And more than 1,000 people were charged with that. Some have already been convicted. There's Congress is still doing an investigation of that, the insurrection, because basically you had pro-Trump, pro-Trump rioters that were protesting and rioting and breaking in and damaging property. 5 people actually got killed, including one woman getting shot by Capitol Police, and because she was trying to break over the barricade, they were chanting "Kill Mike Pence" because they viewed Mike Pence as a traitor because they wanted him to overturn the results of the election. And yeah, so they tried to overthrow democracy. These Trump supporters tried to overthrow the government of the United States, and most of them were sentenced to maybe a couple years to a few months. They really treated them with kid gloves and treated him too light. They really should have charged Donald Trump with insurrection because he tried to overturn democracy and overthrow the democratic election of the United States. And it's very, very dangerous political times that we have going forward, because if we don't bring these people to justice and make them pay, and I don't mean like, a slap on the wrist, oh, you're going to serve a few months in prison. I think some of the people who were the insurrectionists only served a few months in prison or a few months in jail. And some of them got a couple of years, and then some of them were still waiting trial. But the ringmaster, Donald Trump himself, should be charged because he's very authoritarian, very anti-democratic. And unfortunately, he still is predominant in the Republican Party, and he still dominates in the Republican Party. I mean, the Republican Party has moved so far to the right that if President Eisenhower were still alive today and he wanted to run for office, he'd have to run as a Democrat because he would be considered too progressive, too liberal, too reasonable to be a Republican. And you never notice the modern Republican Party never even bring up Eisenhower. He was a popular 2-term president in the 1950s. He was president right before John F. Kennedy, and he actually did that farewell speech in early 1961, in January 1961, where he warned of the military-industrial complex and its influence. And he also stood up for Black students who wanted to reintegrate the schools and go to public school in Little Rock, Arkansas. He brought in the National Guard. So standing up against racism, standing up against fascism, and warning of undue influence of the military-industrial complex. Yeah, President Eisenhower, even though he was a popular Republican president, he was considered conservative for his time. And if he were alive today and wanted to run for office, he'd have to run as a Democrat because he'd be considered way too liberal. And, and that's why the Republicans don't even bring up Eisenhower. You would think that they would want to bring up a 2-term Republican who was popular in the 50s and reference him, but they don't reference him because he wasn't pro-fascism. He was anti-fascism. And so, yeah, these are politically scary times. These are troubling times. So I don't know where we go from here. It just seems like the modern Democratic Party lacks the political will to prosecute people who tried to do the insurrection to the fullest extent of the law. And they need to prosecute people who actually planned and participated in that, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, Louis Gohmert. These are people who actually aided and abetted the insurrection, and as well as Donald Trump. You need to charge all these people and remove them from Congress. But unfortunately, the Democrats lack the political will. And we are regressing as a society in the United States. I know you're in Canada, but what happens in the United States does affect and impact Canada too, to the north. But yeah, reversing Roe v. Wade, reversing 50 years of legal precedent means that you just basically have a bunch of Republican activist judges. And it means that they can overturn any case. They no longer have to act on precedent because they're acting on activism. And everything has become increasingly more politically unstable going forward. So I definitely fear the future of the United States, and I fear the future of the world. With the Eastern Coalition breaking away from the Western Coalition, it's going to be seems to be hauntingly similar to the prediction that it made in Star Trek that World War III would be fought by the Eastern Coalition versus the Western Coalition. And if we're not careful, that we may not have a future. And what's left of the future will look like Mad Max. So I don't know. These are dark political times, I will say that. And you got Biden, who is not really doing anything. He's not doing anything bad, but he's not doing anything good. He's just kind of sitting there like a zombie. Well, he's too old to be president. He seems to be suffering from a little bit of dementia. So does Trump too. Trump tends to slur words as well, like he would say oranges instead of origins. Trump said a lot of dumb things during press conferences as well. It's like, and it seems like the 2024 election is just going to be a repeat. It's going to be Biden versus Trump part 2. And it's like, really, can we not do any better than Biden and Trump? I mean, yeah, I voted for Biden because he was the lesser of two evils. I didn't like Biden. I preferred, Bernie Sanders. But, Bernie Sanders endorsed Biden, and he dropped out of the race because he was concerned about Trump winning re-election. And Biden barely won, despite the fact that we were in the middle of the pandemic and Trump had totally botched the pandemic. And now we're up to, I think, nearly 1 million deaths. Let me look. COVID-19. Well, according to Google, we're up to 998,000 deaths. We're just shy of 1 million, but we've only got about 1 more minute left. So any last thoughts? We've only got about a minute before I wrap up.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, like they say that Star Trek was our universe until it branched off in the 1990s with the Eugenics Wars.
Correct.
Well, you know what? I think that the real branching off point was World War III in 2026, because you know what? Like the Eugenics Wars was a regional conflict. It didn't even make a blip on the radar. It didn't even make a blip.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I would say it was divergent in the 1990s. That's when the Eugenics Wars happened, because even if the Eugenics Wars only took place in India, but we're out of time, my friend. We'll talk more about the Eugenics Wars and the divergent timeline of Star Trek. That'll be an interesting topic for next time. We're already at the 30-minute mark, and we're already out of time. Thank you for joining me. This is Steampunk Star Raisin, your host of The World is a Mess, and I just want to steampunk it. This is episode 62. And I have been your host, here in North Hollywood, California, USA. This is May 16th, 2022. You have a nice day, and I will see you 25 billion years of will.
Bye.